Miracles are an excellent litmus test for the existence of God. Either God exists or he doesn't. And the reality of miracles seem to hinge on the existence of God, because miracles are essentially an act of God, God interrupting the regular course of nature. C.S. Lewis put it simply, but if we admit God, must we admit miracle? Indeed, indeed, you have no security against it. That is the bargain. The burden of proof against miracles is far too heavy to lift, because in order to disprove miracles, you would have to prove that God does not exist. And even most atheists would acknowledge that this is ridiculous. You can't prove God does not exist. The burden of proof on the side of miracles seems lighter. If God exists, then obviously there can be acts of God, and we have many independent lines of evidence for the existence of God. Even one case of a true miracle would be evidence for God. Of course, we have to sift out real miracles from fakes and not just accept any story that we come across. Let's acknowledge now two extremes. There are some people that say everything is a miracle. They got a parking spot at the store, it's a miracle. Others have a level of skepticism so high that even if a miracle really did occur, they still would reject it. Would you consider examining the evidence of miracles? Dr. Craig Keener wrote a 2-volume set, over 1,200 pages of well-documented cases of miracles, hundreds of miracles. I recommend the book The Case for Miracles by Lee Strobel. It can be found online for just a few dollars. I'm not sponsored. One thing these two books and I have in common, we're not interested in miracles that are just the word of some isolated person. We want miracles that are well attested. Let's look at one example from Strobel's book. Dwayne Miller, a pastor of a small church in Texas, caught a bad flu that reduced his voice to a raspy whisper. He resigned because he could not speak beyond more than that whisper. On page 18 of Strobel's book, he writes of Miller, over 3 years, he was examined by 63 physicians. His case was even scrutinized by a Swiss symposium of the world's leading throat experts. The diagnosis: the flu virus destroyed the nerves of his vocal cords, rendering them limp. When Miller asked about his prognosis for recovery, a doctor told him 0. Despite Miller's protestations, his former Sunday school class at First Baptist Church of Houston prevailed on him to speak. A special microphone was used to amplify Miller's soft, hoarse, croaky voice, and the class agreed to endure the grating sound because of their love for him and his teaching. Ironically, his text was from Psalm 103, where the 3rd verse reads, "God heals all your diseases." Miller said later, with my tongue I was saying I still believe that God heals, but in my heart I was screaming, but why not me, Lord? He went on to the next verse, which says, the Lord redeems your life from the pit. He told the class, I have had and you have had pit experiences. As soon as he said the word pit, the choking sensation disappeared. Now, for the first time in 3 years, I could breathe freely, he recalled. I heard a gasp from the crowd, and that's when I too realized my voice had come back. I could hear myself. His stunned audience began to clap and cheer, shout and laugh. His wife, Joylene, broke down in tears. I don't understand this right now, Miller stammered with a fresh new voice. The dramatic moment of Miller's recovery had been captured on audio tape, which went viral. Subsequent doctor examination showed his throat looks like it never had any problems. In fact, against all odds, even the scar tissue has disappeared. Said one physician, even if I could explain how you got your voice back by coincidence, which I can't, I could never explain what happened to the scar tissue. At his website, you can listen to the tape of when his voice came back, then ask, is this a supernatural act of God? Or is it better explained as some sort of spontaneous remission that only coincidentally occurred while he was quoting the Bible on healing? Overall, this is just one example out of the thousands and likely millions of miracle claims. Not all miracle claims are legitimate, far from it. But it would be absurd to rule out miracles without examining the facts and evidence which seem to heavily favor the existence of God and miracles. Add the miraculous to the long list of evidences for God.